Oh, be still my paranormal beating heart. This is Johnny from the Fringe Radio Network, fringeradionetwork.com, and you are listening to Paranormal Heart with your host, Kat Ward.
Welcome to Paranormal Heart, a place where people can talk about their paranormal experiences. With your host, Kat Ward.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Paranormal Heart. I'm your host, Kat Ward. You can find new episodes on the second and last Sunday of each month on Podbean, YouTube, and now on fringeradionetwork.com, and any place you find podcast. If you've had paranormal encounters you'd like to share, you can either be a guest on the show, or you can submit them in writing, and I'll be happy to narrate your story. And if you'd like to have your very own free Paranormal Heart Podcast bumper sticker, just drop me an email at paranormalheart13@gmail.com and I'll be happy to mail you one. This episode's shout out goes to you amazing listeners in Norway. I thank you so much for your support. So folks, I recently posted on various social media platforms for you to tell me what topic you would like to hear. And thank you so much for those of you who shared your ideas so far. And thank you to Lana for asking to hear the next topic, psychic protection. Joining me for episode 66 is a returning guest who is extremely knowledgeable in all paranormal aspects and wears many hats. He's an author, singer, cryptozoologist, founder and director of York State UFO Project, host of NoBobuMe, Nobody But Me podcast, and so much more. And talking about psychic protection, I give you Sir Bryan Bowden. Hey Brian, welcome back to Paranormal Heart.
Well, it's a pleasure to be back on Paranormal Heart. My heart is beating because of Paranormal Heart.
That kind of sounded creepy.
Yeah,
Remember
it does, doesn't it?
Maybe.
But you know what? You're probably going to drop this, as the kids say. You're going to be dropping this album, this episode, probably during the month of October, maybe, or close to it. So it's almost the most wonderful time of the year.
Yes.
So it works if it's creepy.
Our favorite time of year.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so like I told you before, I wanted to have you on again. Didn't know what we could talk about, and because you know everything. So, yeah, well, you're just so well versed in pretty much anything paranormal, so I put out there on various social media platforms, what do the listeners want to listen to? And our friend Lana suggested that she would like to hear how to protect yourself when you're a medium. So I thought, Uncle Brian.
Oh, I appreciate that, but I'm going to do it as an extra large. I'm sorry. Not as a medium, but that's the old medium joke. No, I think it's a great, actually, it's a very good subject. And you know that, I work with Al, and we do things as Bronxville Paranormal Society, and we do have our own, person that is psychic for the group, but we also, even though Al doesn't want to admit to his special gifts, he has abilities.
He has them.
And I have abilities, and we both wrestle with them, because on the logical side of things, when stuff starts happening, you're like, this is not what's supposed to happen, because we've all gone to like college or university or whatever, and it's not one of the normal things you would find. So that being said, it's always like, did that really happen? Did I really get that in my mind's eye or in my head? Or did I really hear that or feel that? And we always check it out. But one of the things that we are very, very religious about, no pun intended, is protection and protecting yourself, because there is no better way to do you a solid justice than protecting yourself before you do almost anything. It's not just paranormal, or if you have abilities, you should be protecting yourself on a daily basis. So I would be more than happy to discuss some of the things that I'm doing and what your listeners can do.
Yeah, and thank you for that. Like you said, it's whenever I hear paranormal investigative teams out there, and you ask them, how do you protect yourselves before? Oh, we don't protect ourselves. And I'm thinking, what? You got to do something, because you never know what you're going to bring home, and I don't know. To each their own, I guess.
Yeah, I did it's very funny because I've actually, when I was with, a couple of years back, we did Ocean State with Ron Murphy. It was a conference in Rhode Island, and it raised money to help battered women, which anything that raises money to help people out in a conference, I think is fantastic. Yep. So I was, there was a lot of TAPS people there. And we went over to, Joe Chin, and a bunch of them were there. Porter was there from Ghost or Tennessee, whatever. And the first thing I would say is, how do you protect yourself for an investigation? Now, you're right. A lot of people don't do that. So, but one of the funny things, and this is a sidebar, but I thought it was humorous, and there's a video of this. It's Ron and I going over to Sherry Benedetti, who's now on Ghost Nation with Jason Hawes and Steven and Tango. And it's a great video. I'm there holding the camera, and I said, when you go out on an investigation, how do you protect yourself? And Ron goes, yes, how do you protect yourself? See, I haven't protected myself. That's why I have 5 children. And Sherry Benedetti just lost it. It's just kind of interesting concept. So, well, we're not going to talk about that type of protection tonight.
No.
but when you're starting out in this as a psychic, let's just say, okay, or you have some kind of gifts and abilities, and it's usually psychic related, be it audio savant or a tachometry or whatever it is, it's kind of cool to play with it when you start to play around, but you're an open book right there. And you wouldn't leave your house open, and you wouldn't walk around with the door open, and you walking around naked from the shower to the room or whatever it was, right? Yeah. So you need to learn to close doors. And when I discovered, I had an idea, I had some abilities, but I was confirmed by our psychic from our group, and I started working with her right off the bat. And don't make the mistake I made. I said, I want to start slow. I don't want to open a Pandora's box. And she said, yeah, okay, no problem. And what she didn't tell me was that once you start down the path of opening your third eye and your abilities, it's a huge Pandora's box. It's about the size of North America. Okay, there's no lid that gets closed after that. You've opened it up, and the way you kind of close it is just walking away from it and not doing what you can do. But once you start doing it, it's kind of hard to walk away. It becomes part of your daily life. So the first thing you need to do is ground yourself before you go out and do any type of psychic stuff as a medium. You want to sit there for a few minutes and almost in a meditative state, just bring yourself down to center. And what I like to do is, and this involves your mind's eye. And when I say mind's eye, I'm saying that if I said the letter A right now, almost everybody can picture the letter A in their head, except if you're in Russia, or some foreign country that doesn't use a standard kind of alphabet like that. But what I'm saying is, if you mention a color or a number, you see it in your head. You know what it looks like because you've been using it for your entire life. So you want to sit there and using your mind's eye, you want to kind of calm down and relax. And then you want to just focus on creating a world and your body being covered with what I like to call a white and golden light. And it's the white and golden light of God. Doesn't matter what your religious or spiritual beliefs is, whoever that higher being is that you feel comfortable with, you're asking them to cover you and protect you your entire body with a white golden light of protection, light, love. Okay, and then on top of that, what I like to do is after I do that, I create that white golden light around me to protect me, and that's God's energy protecting you. I say, I'm putting a bubble around me. So I literally enclose my entire body in a bubble. And in the bubble, it's filled with the white golden light. Now, this is pretty good protection from that point. You have this, you're protected by, and you're surrounded by a shield, a bubble shield, and the shield of white and golden light of God. So hopefully that's some good protection there. But when you go into certain things psychically or as a medium, you may come across things that you just freak you out or are evil or hurtful or harmful. And you don't want them to connect with you in any way, visually, audio, visual, whatever. So to add to that protection, I usually put, and around that white golden light in that bubble, I make the outside of the bubble made from mirror. So now I'm in a mirrored ball. And the reason why I'm in the mirrored ball is I can see through the mirror into everything that's going on there. But if anything is out there, any entity, spirit, interdimensional being, whatever, all they're going to see is this giant sphere coming at them. And it's going to be a metallic sphere protected by God. And they're going to see their own reflection and not see me. So I try to enclose myself to that, to protect myself that way. Another thing you should also do is for protecting is before you embark, you kind of want to tether yourself or ground yourself to the earth. So you can't be taken and literally, whisked away to some other area in wherever you're going. There's a lot of things we don't see with our own eyes that are around us right now. So I envision having these vines or roots coming out of the ground, and I see them and I watch them wrap around my legs, around my body, my arms, and go into some people use the center chakra and lock me in there so that no matter what goes on, I am grounded to the earth and to God. And that's the first part of it. So, another thing that I like to do, and when you're protecting yourself as a medium, is you need to, and this is where it gets a little bit weird, folks. I find that using prayer is a very important function of protection. And before we do any investigation, and before we go into a home for researching it, or even when I do a lot of remote viewing, I'll say a couple of prayers for myself, and I'd say traveling prayers, or you could say the St. Michael prayer, and that actually helps you out too. So if you don't know what to say or what to do, I mean, there are plenty of prayers of protection for almost every denomination of every religion that's out there. I apologize, I'm drinking something here.
It's okay.
Yeah.
So they would just have to Google it?
Well, yeah, I mean, but I'm gonna say it to you right now.
Okay.
The prayer that I love, and I think everybody should say it for the most part. I know your religion, but it says, "Holy Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle. Be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. And do thou, O Prince of the heavenly hosts, by the power of God, thrust into hell Satan and all the other evil spirits who prowl through the world, seeking the ruin of souls. Amen and amen." Now that's an important prayer there, and it's very important that let's look at that. We all know about the devil. We all know about, the light bearer going back to, being sent to earth and, or underneath earth, and Lucifer and whatever you want to call him. But there are other evil spirits that have been on this planet and plane longer than that. So this is what you're protecting yourself from. And we're talking about some very nasty entities. So anything that you can do to protect yourself before embarking on even playing around with it is what should be done. And we go through a series of prayers, well, like, you know me, I mean, I could joke at almost any time, and I still joke, but, I'll say a prayer. Al will do Our Father. Then we'll say, we've had people come with us. We've done ohms. We've done a traveling prayer. May it be your will, Hashem, our God, the God of our forefathers, lead us towards peace, place our foot towards peace, guide us towards peace, and make us reach a desired destination for life, gladness, and peace. May you rescue us from the hands of every foe, ambush, bandit, evil animals along the way, and all manner of punishment assembled to come to us. May you send blessing in our every handiwork, and grant us grace, kindness, and mercy in your eyes, and in the eyes of all who see us. May you hear the sound of our supplication, for you are God who hears prayers and supplications. Blessed are you, Hashem, who hears prayers. That's one of the prayers I was taught. There's a bunch of them. And then after you pray, or we say our prayers before we impart onto an investigation, or, I don't go through all these prayers, but I do cover some of them when I go solo, because it's just easier. It's, I may say them out loud. I may say them to myself, but I send that out there. And I think the intention is the key on all these things.
Agreed.
Intention is so important. People that have abilities and get sucked into things, stop using, their intention is not there in the right proper format. And you can get yourself put in a mental institution. You can get yourself arrested. You could probably, some people have died doing certain things because the intention wasn't pure and to the point, and they think of it as a game. And I will tell everybody there, including Lana, who's asked, when you are talking about this realm, which is the medium realm or the psychic realm, and that paranormal ether, which Ron Murphy calls the Goblin Universe, you don't know what you're playing with. You don't know what's going to answer that door, and you think it's cute, talking about what I forgot, I don't know what, Bloody Mary or whatever her name is.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, we should have some Bloody Marys while we're doing it. It's not a game. You are invoking something you have no idea about, and you are not strong enough to handle. There's very few people in this world as mediums that are strong enough to handle some of the stuff that comes at them. So that's why we protect. So, we do the prayers because we're invoking, the Lord's a blessing and guidance and healing, and we're telling, and then we burn sage, and we burn sage all the time. We not only do we bless ourselves with the sage and let it waft over you and get into your nostrils, your clothes, we go into our equipment too, and we sage it. And then Al usually, when we go together, Al will take out the holy oil and start anointing me with it, and I start screaming, it burns. And he gets upset. He's like, "Can you cut it out now?" That's where the attention comes in. So yes, I'm kind of comical, but if you feel that this is going to help you and protect you, especially also symbols, religious symbols to be worn, crucifix, stars of David, I don't know what the pentagram is. There's a pentagram and a couple of other ones. The seal of Solomon, or the pentagram. I forgot the pentacle. The pentacle of Solomon. Yeah, and it has to be worn over the sternum for some reason. And I don't know the full details of that. I've Solomon was a weird cat, so I haven't gone into the full details of what he was playing around with, but this should start protecting you initially. This is an initial protection. Now, when you are, this is, if you're as a medium, this is how I would do it. If you asked 10 different mediums the same question, everyone will start to develop their own routine. You know, everyone. Some people won't do things based on dates because some dates have less power than others. Some people will do it depending on where the this is some of them. Some of them really get into like, well, no, this is aligned. I can't do this month, or they'll have certain days where they're doing the astrology with it and where certain formations and planetary alignments are, and they'll just bow out of it. They're like, no, this is not a good time to be doing it. But I think primarily the grounding, the bubble protection, the prayers, combined with, you know, holy oil or holy water for yourself, and you know, some kind of religious symbol is the greatest way to start protecting yourself. But we can't do this all the time. Like, you know, you can't go into your boss's office and like, hold on one second, I've been invoking a bubble around me. So, you know, everybody will be like, what's wrong with him, you know, or her. So another way, and it's been used for millennia, that you can protect yourself is to carry salt with you. And some people recommend putting it in your shoes, some in your pocket, and just carrying it in some form around you. Okay? And this has been used to ward off tons of evil and cleanse for, I think, since the beginning of time, for the most part. They use it in rituals. The indigenous people use it in rituals. Almost every religion uses salt in a ritual as a purification method, but salt is a protective method.
Does it matter what kind of salt? If it's sea salt or table salt or rock, well, I guess you wouldn't want to put rock salt in your shoes.
Well, yeah. Well, it depends. You know, some
true.
Salt. Ow! What's wrong? I'm protecting myself. Okay. Clean your shoes up. Well, what I like to do is see. Now, I don't believe it matters what type of salt you use. Salt becomes salt to a certain degree. Other people in this field will disagree with me totally. Nope, you got to use this or this. It has to be blessed by this. Now, I don't go that direction. What I do recommend highly is, and 99% of this you can get there, I use kosher salt. And I'll tell you why. There are certain there's religious restrictions involved in the production of kosher salt. And for anybody who's in the Muslim faith, it'd be halal. But it's usually a kosher product, a kosher salt. It's pure, it's blessed. It's, you know, there's so many things that have to be done to this, that there is a lot more energy and time put into it. And I think it does have the weight and power of a divine influence in that process. So I like to go out, and a lot of them, like, I don't want to name brands, but there's one that sounds like Morton's. I don't know what it is up in Canada, but there's plenty of companies, Diamond and what have you. They have plenty of salt, and you could, you know, I used to put it in like one of these little, I guess, the travel pill bags. You ever see those little Ziploc? I mean, like, they're really small Ziploc bags.
Yes.
You're supposed to put jewelry or pills in them if you travel.
Yep.
So I was carrying around like a big bag of that in my pocket, and I kept taking it out. Like, I kept it near my whatever, the right side of my pocket or whatever. I think I had something I kept going in and out to get something like change or whatever. And every time I took it out, it looked like I had a pound of coke in my pocket, right? You know, and I'm like, this doesn't look good. And then I said, you know what? Yeah, this could be really dangerous, because what happens is it literally is like a rock or a coarse salt. It's a larger crystal, but after a while it becomes a powder, and it really does look like drugs.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I know what's going to happen one day. I'm going to get pulled over by somebody. They're going to go in my pocket and like, what's this? And I'm going to say, it's salt. Yeah, right, salt, huh? Little toot for the nose. You know, I'm like, no, I swear to God, it's salt.
Taste it.
What do you need salt for? Yeah, taste it. I'm not going to taste, you know. And I can see them coming out with the dog, you know, and I'm like, okay. So what I recommend is, it's the easiest way to do it. Okay, here's the easy way of carrying salt and not getting arrested. Okay, no matter where you're going, you know. My kids and my wife hate me for this, but when you go to restaurants or you order food or you go places to take out, they usually have these little salt packets, right?
Yeah.
Now they'll give them to you most of the time, but a lot of places now, even though we're going through this craziness in this world, they still leave them out like in a big bunch. So I always grab a handful of it. And one time, someone commented, "Whoa, you like a lot of salt?" I'm like, yeah, got high blood pressure. And I stick it in my pocket. And then what I start doing is I start giving it to everybody. You're like, you can keep these things in your pocket. Here's
That's
the
a good
problem,
idea.
though.
Yeah.
You're right. You're going to be protected from it, but eventually what happens is they start deteriorating. So you got salt everywhere. But it's not a bad thing because the salt's in almost every pocket, and it's finer salt so that if you did want to sprinkle in your shoe, you could sprinkle in your shoe before you put your socks on. I think it's good to have some salt in your car because it protects the car.
I never thought of that.
Well, I'll give you another hint. If you're going into someone's home, even family, or if you're going into like a boss and you're going to talk about, either employment or non-employment or raises, put salt in your pocket. It'll go in your favor. 99% of the time it goes in your favor or protects you from something that negativity that comes out. And maybe you won't get fired that day, but but it is a very big protection. So I would also, when you're a psychic, always have some salt in your pocket someplace. That is a protector. I'm just trying to think of the easy things, what I do to protect myself. Now, some people will say, no, you need black salt, which is a really, really intense type of salt.
I've never heard of black salt.
It's like, well, the one I've gotten is a little more it's made from volcanic rock or ash.
Mm-hmm.
It's pulled out of that. I don't know the exact extent of what black salt is, but I heard it's used in a lot of magic related rituals for spell casting. I guess the best person for that would be Miss Aida.
Yep.
Yeah, she
love that lady.
She knows. Oh my God, she's so fantastic. And I'm gonna plug her right now. You got to read her books, Hoodoo Justice Magic. Go out and get it.
Great books.
It's fantastic. Yep. She has another one coming out. It's even better. But she knows all. When you practice that, and when you're a practicer of that kind of metaphysical type of stuff, you have to know what different things do, from roots to nuts to trees to everything. It's really amazing how they're almost like pharmacists or chemists, depending on where you are, and they know the properties of these roots and these salts and what it's used for, depending on ceremony or protection or both. But I've also now combined Himalayan pink salt.
Yep. They say that's good for migraines too.
Yes, you can. I don't recommend eating too much salt, but
no,
for migraine wise, and I think you have it as well as.
Yep.
I kind of get when a storm's coming. Sometimes it can be brutal.
Yep.
But not only a protection, but if you put a couple of crystals underneath your tongue, it helps get some of that electricity go in the right direction, and takes away from that the pressure of the storm coming. But it also is a protectant, like we said. So sometimes you combine a couple of things, and into V2P pink, Himalayan pink salt, coarse salt, fine salt. Just find what you feel a little bit more comfortable carrying with you. Something very interesting. One of my really good friends, she's like a sister to me, and I didn't find out until later on in life that she also does card reading. She's a card reader. She has abilities, and she does a regular deck of cards. It says shuffle and shuffle and shuffle, and then you just turning them over, and in the order it goes is how she reads. And she's really, really good at this. I mean, extremely good at it. But she was one person who told me what you need to do is, when you're talking about cleansing, I'm sure you've talked about cleansings on your show.
Yes.
I think I've even talked about it.
Yes, you
Where
have.
you walk around with sage and all that other good stuff. And so you have all these different
Sorry
things.
for that squeaky noise. One of the cats is on the wrong side of the door, and my son let her in, and I told him to be quiet, and he slowly closes the door. It's just, oh, sorry.
Yeah. It's kind of like someone in a movie that's slowly opening a wrapper, and you want to turn to him like, dude, just take the damn thing out.
Yeah, right.
That's why you need salt, people. This is why we put salt on our popcorn, to get those people away from us.
Oh,
Those
hey,
evil
good idea,
people.
yeah.
There you go. But if you want to protect your home, there's a little side tip for everybody here, and we'll get back to protecting yourselves as well. But it's also a protection vehicle. If you look, depending on the size of your home, you want to find the center point of your home. So if you have 2 stories, some people, when they buy a home, they actually have blueprints. You can actually figure out where the center is. Throw a box around your home, put the X through it, and you'll know exactly where the center is. And what you do at the center point of your home is you get a vial and you put salt in it and you hang it from the center point of your home and just leave it. And if you want to, every 6 months or a year, you don't have to. You can change the salt out. But what that's going to do is the center point of home is going to radiate that salt and that protection out, and all the negativity supposedly goes out. Okay, and that's it captures it in the salt. Now, don't use the salt ever. You have to you flush it or throw it out to get it out of your house. But you can use it in the center point of your home. But another thing, what we do and we like to do in investigations, and it's fairly safe if you have pets. Okay, the only problem is the plastic bag. But you can throw little salt bags in every corner of every room in your home, and then you sprinkle it over the entire, like all doorways and openings, even in the windowsill. And yes, it'll eventually go away through rain or wind or whatever, but that also protects your home. But you want to do that salt treatment after you have saged your home.
Yes.
Yeah, don't do it before, because then you're never going to get anything out of it.
Because it's almost like mopping your floors before sweeping.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what's the point?
Yeah.
It's exactly like that. So you want to sage first yourself, and then you salt. Now, as far as a personal protection, like Lana's talking about for herself, or having the salt on you is something you can carry. I mean, I literally have salt in almost every jacket now, every pocket, and it's just, and then what happens when you do the laundry, it goes away, and then you just put more in there, and you don't have to go crazy with it. You just, every time I bet you, please write into Kat and tell people and tell her that after hearing this episode, that when you were in a restaurant or you were a place where they had those little packets, you remember this episode and you grab packets of salt and you have them on them. I'd love to see how many people come back and tell you that. Yes,
please. paranormalheart13@gmail.com. I would love to hear this. Please let me know.
And then if you can, tell them how you felt afterwards.
Yes.
But don't, just because you feel like you're protected doesn't mean you need to drive through like the window of a building, You can
or a tornado,
like normal,
yeah.
It's a little extra something to protecting you. And so that's the salt aspect of it. That's one of the protective devices that I use all 24/7. Another is very important is crystals. And I love crystals.
So do I.
Yeah, I mean, they're amazing. It's kind of like an amazing treasure hunt that God puts out there for everybody to take part in. And there's so many of the crystals, and I know how some of the ladies like the diamond crystals. Those aren't really,
I'm not a fan of diamonds, really.
Well, you know what? I mean, hey, I'd take a couple. But I'm not an expert on crystals, but there are a couple of good encyclopedia books out there. Go read a book. It's really good for you to read, everybody. but there's like an encyclopedia of crystals, and I don't know the author. I'll look that up while we're talking. But some of the crystals that you may want to be carrying with you are black tourmaline, and that's a grounding protection, and it dispels and transmutes negative energy when you have it on you. There's hematite, which is a grounding stone as well.
I love hematite. That's my favorite.
Yeah. It enhances and strengthens, clear thinking, common sense, and focused energy. Because we can all use that. I mean,
yes.
Tell me we can, right?
Yep.
Tiger's eye is interesting too because it provides protection, and it gently grounds you, but it helps you to facilitate like clear business decisions when you're doing something, aids in understanding, core issues that usually will block the flow of abundance. So you want something that allows you to understand what's blocking your success or abundance. And abundance doesn't necessarily mean money. Just letting everybody know that. Abundance could be happiness, health. There are many other abundances you want besides the old, loony or dollar or whatever the heck it is these days.
Mm-hmm.
One of them I love, and I got this from Katie too, was black obsidian.
Yes.
Yes.
Love it.
I asked her straight up and then I started reading more about crystals later on. But I asked her about what I could do to protect myself, and I started using black obsidian. And what it does is it's a powerful cleanser of psychic smog, and which is created when your aura, or is messed up, or someone's trying to attack you on a psychic way, because there are psychic vampires out there. There are people that use their gift to attack you, and a lot of the times people don't know that they do this. They have no clue they're using this ability, but they do.
I used to know one.
You used to know one?
Yeah, he was a psychic vampire and didn't even know it, and I never told him. That was somebody I used to know back home.
Right.
Just drained my energy just being around him every time. So, yeah.
I think everybody that listens to your show and everybody in life has these people that you just like, oh God, like I need to go away now, But black obsidian holding, having this on you will protect from that, and they won't even realize it. They'll just start staying away from you at that point. Citrine is another beautiful stone.
It is.
It cleanses your energy, and it transmutes it into a positive energy. So basically what it does, it blocks the negative energy and expands the good clarity and the concentration and positive energy. So that's another good one to have on you. And of course, quartz is great. It's good for grounding yourself, if you want to help ground.
It's probably one of the most popular ones that most people know about.
Right. I mean, it's also very inexpensive. It's just with healing. It stimulates all the chakras. It improves, meditation, and it actually helps to bring serenity. What's very interesting about quartz, and I'm going to go on a sidebar here, is we use quartz in a lot of products that we have. A lot of these wristwatches, before there was the
quartz crystals,
Apple Watch or whatever, they use quartz, and quartz is basically, it's almost like a combination of a battery and a computer, which is really, really cool. You ever hear of the crystal skulls?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so there are these quartz crystal skulls that exist, and apparently they were all they've been looked at by numerous different scientists in the field, and they just can't figure them out because there's no machine markings on them. It's almost as if it was like naturally formed in this, but it wasn't. It must have been carved out and created. But what they've noticed about these quartz crystal stones is they vibrate, and they have different frequencies. And when two get together, they almost look like they communicate with each other, and there's talk that they do communicate with each other. People that have these large crystal stones have comments that they talk to them. The stones will start talking to, like there's an intelligence behind it. They also could use quartz as a hard drive, a computer. It's a little bit science fiction out there, everyone's like, oh, that's sci-fi stuff. Nope. They use it as a storage device, and they've found a couple of pieces of quartz that have the same markings as a storage device, as if you were using a hard drive. So this is why quartz is such an incredible gem to have with you, crystal. And one of my favorites, my all-time favorite, and I carry a huge one on me. I gotta find smaller ones. Is selenite.
Oh, that is my all-time favorite. Yep.
Selenite is an amazing.
I probably have too much of it in the house.
Well, we were mentioning Miss Aida at one point, and we mentioned Katie Turner, who, I mean, those two are just light years beyond, 99% of the people in the field here.
Yep.
And
agreed.
I went out with the family for something, and we went to the supermarket next door, and I kept this little quartz, I would call it a wand, a selenite wand in my pocket, along with this big one that I've had. And as I was going in to the supermarket, I was going to pay, it fell out of my pocket and cracked in half. Yeah, so I'm like, oh, is that, not knowing, I'm like, oh my God, is that bad luck? What the heck? What's happening? Am I being attacked? Whatever. I didn't really know what the heck was going on at that point. So I contacted the two ladies I just mentioned. And each one had a different take on it, but each one, it was interesting. One said, Miss Aida said something that it gave its life for you.
Oh.
Someone was, whatever, and was trying to attack you, and it gave itself up to protect you, which is a very interesting prospect. Okay. That's it's like, wow, and things like that do happen, folks. You'll be very surprised how this world works. Whereas Katie said that, went on a different approach, and I asked her, she said, none of them said it was bad. It's not bad luck coming to you. It's actually something that happens with all these crystals that I've mentioned. And what she said was, it was done doing what it was supposed to do for you, and that's why it's done. So in other words, you had it for a certain point, for a reason. It got to the point, it was done with its purpose, and it destroyed itself. Well, I mean, I destroyed it because I dropped it. It flew out of my pocket.
Yeah.
But that was the court saying, I'm done here. Good luck. New dealer, everybody. And move on. So, and when you break a crystal, do not keep it. What you want to do is, it's better to do it under a full moon, if you can. You want to go outside, and what you do is you dig up the earth, and you bury it in the ground, and put the earth back on top of it under the moonlight. And you give it back into the system. So it's like a circle of life. And I'm not going to start singing Circle of Life for you, but I may want to.
Thank you. Please don't.
Yeah.
I never thought to do that.
Circle of Life. Oh, stop.
So we're out of time.
Yeah, but what's very interesting, and let's get back into the crystals. So that's just some of them. I highly recommend you do some research because, I don't know if you found the same thing, but I find that when you go out, you shouldn't be given a crystal unless it's by some amazing somebody that you highly respect, and there's a lot of positiveness around it. Crystals are very personal.
Yes.
And just like when you want to protect yourself, having these gifts and abilities, it's all personalized. Not everybody needs the same protection. So when you're going to deal with and go to crystals, buying them on Amazon is not the route to go. You're going to get something, and I guarantee you, look, it's here, and it just won't feel right. It's all about feel with crystals.
Yes.
And
you get drawn to a certain one.
Yeah, exactly. It's not about like what's the prettiest one. Well, maybe a visual stimulation does help with this.
Yeah.
But what I like to do is if I'm going into a shop and I want to look for crystals, I will see them all there, and I kind of put my hand above them, and you start feeling certain things. You know, you may not feel anything at that point, and if I don't, I'm not picking one up. I'm just not going to buy it.
Yep.
But sometimes you're like, okay, I feel in an area that I'm liking, go over to it, and you start feeling, you hold them in your hands, and the crystal and you will pick each other. I mean, I don't want to use Harry Potter as the example, but it's like the sorting hat. Like, you know, you're picking up some obsidian and it says Slytherin. You know what I'm saying? But it does work something like that, and because you have a relationship with this crystal, and you want to build that bond, and when something feels right, it's like, yeah, this is it. This is the one, and I would highly recommend everybody goes out to. I don't know if you have metaphysical stores or New Age. I don't know.
Yeah, we have a great one here in town called Brimstone and Belladonna. I'm going to give them a shout out. They're great.
Yeah, you go in there and they probably have little baskets, right? And they have like a little card. They'll say, "Oh, they make selenite." You know, and there's different types of selenite, and and you go over to it and you kind of like. Just hover your hand over it. I'm telling you, you're going to feel something. There's going to be something about it. The one you put in your pocket is usually the one, that you're ready to go home with.
Yeah.
It is meant to be. It sounds crazy, but it should last
it's true.
for a long, long while. When stones break, in my case, when it broke, I think my bigger stone was like, get that little one out of here. It's kind of like bringing home another pet. It's like, what the heck's this? I'm the only cat in this building. And they kind of, eventually, hopefully they'll learn to live with each other. But sometimes some stones give up. It's like, I don't need this. And so definitely go out and test these stones. And I just, you may not need all of them at once. Okay? So you don't have to carry 15 pounds of stones in your pocket.
Yeah.
Like seriously, after that incident when I broke that stone, God, I love her to death, Miss Aida. She sent me like 5 pounds of selenite. And like this box.
Because she cares, yeah.
Oh, I swear,
yeah.
She is such a wonderful one. She's
I know,
so
I
good
love
at
that
what
woman.
she does. She's incredible. She does readings and more. She's a heck of an author, and she puts it in. She covers everything in these books. It's so simple to read. It's like step-by-step guide. You cannot, you can't miss, helping yourself with, properly. But she's got a heart of gold.
She does.
She really is a wonderful person. And I'm thankful for connecting with her. And she's like, as we say, sister from a different mister, and like I'm her brother too. And it's kind of like, our relationship and a lot of us in this little circle that we have here. It's just blessings to be, know you, all of you have met you without meeting you. It's an amazing situation. So, but
with Miss Aida, you and Al both recommended her to have on my show, yes. And I did. And she went from guest to a friend. Like, we just connected. Yeah. She's just so amazing.
Oh, I promoted the heck out of you. I'm like, cats, you're going to love her. And Miss Aida is very, look, she's very experienced in the ways of the world and what she does metaphysically. She's fantastic. But, when you've been through this so many times, you have to give an arm's length to certain people because you don't know where, people do take advantage of people. That's why we're talking about protecting ourselves, and entities and spirits come off of people and you're like, whoa, back up, so
getting back quick I just want to mention, getting back to when you're choosing stones, I went to Brimstone and Belladonna one day and I was buying myself some crystals and I was buying my friend Kelsey some crystals. I got her hooked. She knows more about crystals than I do. Like, she has all these books and it's so funny. But anyways, and I was thinking of another friend, and well, actually I wasn't thinking of her. I just looked at this one stone. It was heart-shaped. I can't remember what it was. And I picked it up and I automatically started thinking of this other friend of mine. So I thought, okay, I'm going to buy it. So gave it to her, and when she looked up the properties, the healing properties, she came up to me, she goes, how did you know? She had physical ailments that I didn't even know about, and this stone was for those.
There you go.
Yeah, and
that's how it works.
Exactly.
And like I said, you don't normally want to get stones from people, but it's all about intention.
Yep.
You know, your intention's there and in the right spot, then you're going to be in a good place. And there was a connection there. You know, that's like your sixth sense coming out without you realizing it's coming out.
Yeah.
You know, but stones are huge. I have so many of them in my pocket that my pants get way down, and everybody's like, "What do you got? Rocks in your pocket?"
You don't want to fall in the river because you ain't coming back up.
No, and you know, I went for a physical, and they tell you to get on the scale, and I said, "Well, I got to take my pants off." Like, well, do you want me to leave for this? I'm like, I don't care, you know. I explained. I said I have these things in my pocket, these you know, crystals and stuff, and she goes, "Yeah, really? How many?" And I just opened my hand up. She goes, "Okay, take your pants off." Like, I'm probably carrying around about 10 pounds worth of crystals. So,
that's funny.
That's a huge important factor of it, and I love the fact. You know what? It's good. Get out, explore, get a book. I think it's I don't want to say it's Ellen Christen. I forgot the name of the author. I'm going to look up this while we're chatting about crystals, because it's that important. You know, having the right knowledge about the crystals before you go out and you know, go out and get them. You know, it just makes it easier to pick the right ones for the right situation. And like I said before, crystals help you not only protect you but also give you clarity, which is important.
I'd like to mention to the listeners too, getting back to the hematite, when you go to these places that sell crystals, if the hematite is sticking together, it's not hematite, it's magnetite. It's different. Yeah.
Yes.
A lot of these shops don't know that. I mentioned it to a crystal shop once down in Alberta, and I'm like, "Oh, you have this listed as hematite?" And they said, "It is." I'm like, "No, it's magnetite because it's magnetized." It's pretty close, but it is different. And they're like, "Oh." It's like, yeah, so if they stick together, it's magnetite, it's not hematite.
There you go. And the book is actually written by Judy Hall, Hall. It's called The Encyclopedia of Crystals. She's got a beginner's guide to crystals and a full encyclopedia of crystals with new additions, and it goes through just about every crystal you can even think of to have on you. You know, so I highly recommend that book. It's a small book. It's like, physically, it's probably like 5 inches by 5 inches type of size book. It's thick, but it's beautiful. You know, and then you can always look it up, and you know what? I mean,
you can keep it in your purse.
Well, I don't know if you can hit somebody with that thing, they're going to drop to the floor. But you know, it's very interesting. If you learn your local area, there are crystals within select crystals in certain areas, and you may be able to go out and find some on your own, which is always a fun, you know, day out. Get out of the house, get some vitamin D in you before the winter comes or whatever. But you know, you can get quartz at places, and I mean, we find quartz everywhere. You just got to look for quartz rods, but hematite, and you know, you name it, it's out there. There's got the one that I have another one on me. It's very rare. It comes from an asteroid that just crashed.
Is it green?
It's green. I think it's like it's not hematite, but it's something like that.
Oh, jeepers, I can't remember.
Super expensive. But that's a very, very like powerful protective crystal. And I mean, that's something you should definitely, consider. But let me tell you, it's not on the inexpensive list. It's like a small couple of grams could cost you a lot of money.
Is it moldavite?
Yeah, moldavite. That's it.
Yeah, I had to Google it.
Yep, moldavite is it, and it's actually an interesting looking crystal because
it is.
It has a glass quality to it, which is interesting, and because of the rarity of it, it's just a wonderful crystal to have. You can even wear it as a necklace. That's another thing you can do instead of carrying like these big chunky pieces. If you wanted to, you could take crystal pieces and make a ring out of it, or wear the little
earrings
on your neck,
or bracelets. Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%. But talking about protecting yourself and the crystals, yeah, it's one thing to buy the crystals, but what you got to do is you got to cleanse them first.
Yep.
So there's multiple ways you can cleanse them. Miss Aida goes through this whole great few pages in her book, Hoodoo Protection Magic, and how to cleanse them with water and salt and
I think she talks about Florida water. I think that's what it's called, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Florida water is.
I'd never heard of it before. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting. It's like a cologne, but it's not. It's people use it all the time, and it's like a protective thing to wear on you. It smells a little citrusy. It's interesting, but when you get your crystals, first of all, the last crystal we were talking about on that list, the selenite.
Selenite, yeah. That cleanses.
Can cleanse your crystals. So you can cleanse your crystals by putting them on selenite and rubbing them on selenite.
Yes, I have this nice. I have a nice selenite plate that I got, and whenever I get any new crystals or anything like that, I just put it on top of the plate for 24 hours or however, and it just charges it. Never put selenite in water. No, don't ever try to wash your selenite.
Yeah, it'll just deteriorate.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very fragile. It can be very fragile in certain forms, and it will deteriorate. But what you want to do is, if you don't have selenite, then you use sage, and it's better to do this under a full moon.
Yep.
But you can go out at night and you can sage your crystals, and what you're doing is again using your mind's eye, saying nothing but love and light protection, positive energy, positive protection can be in these crystals. And you let it, the smoke go through all the crystals and leave them there. I usually, you can leave them there for 24 hours if you want. It does kind of help it. But once you have cleansed your crystals, they're good to go and you can use them on anybody and with anything.
No,
it's important.
I've never done this, but I've heard of some people putting their crystals in salt and putting that on a windowsill for full moon. But I've never used the salt.
Right, I haven't used the salt, and Miss Aida goes into the salt routine too, where some of them she washes it through water, depending on the crystal.
Yes.
Mind you.
Some you're not allowed to get wet.
Water.
Yep.
Right, they can't get wet. But in general, what she does is she puts that positive vibe and energy into it, and then she fills a bucket of salt with salt and buries them and sprinkles it on the crystal, and then buries them within the salt under a full moon, so the moon bathes in it. And the moonlight is supposed to help charge it and energize it.
Yep.
One of the great things about selenite is it, talking about healing, it's a healer. And my aunt, who at times thinks I'm crazy, but she wasn't feeling well. I said, okay, just give me a second here. And I took out my big selenite. I said, where are you feeling it? And I just used my hand, holding the selenite, and not actually rubbing on her, but holding it within a certain, the regions, certain distance, going up and down. And then I did that for about a couple of minutes, in the area, just leaving it there. And I asked her, I said, well, how does it feel now? And you'll find that it does help heal people. So,
it does. The first time that I didn't know about selenite before. We were on an investigation one time to a local spot here called Bug Hill, and all of a sudden there was an entity around me, and I got this nasty, nasty headache, and I was just like almost screaming and holding my head, and Katie's like, what? I'm like, I don't know, I just got this sudden nasty headache. So she takes out a selenite crystal. She says, take this and touch it to your head. Just leave it there for a little bit until, the pain goes away. And it worked. I'm like, what the heck is this? Just selenite. I'm like, what the heck is selenite? And ever since then, that's been my favorite crystal. It works. I was totally surprised.
It's a special something to have with you when you're protecting yourself.
Yeah.
Other than that, as far as protection, again, intention, and we briefly touched on it, but the intention of how you're proceeding in your life and your world will determine how protected you are.
Intent is
if
huge.
Right. There's a balance in the universe, and if some people that go out, right, and they get wronged by, I don't know, one person or 10 people, who knows, and they go out and they try to put a curse on those 10 people.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't, the universe works in equals. If there's, if you've gotten, taken or had an issue and someone messed with you, you can go back and mess with that person, or you can, the intention is for them to feel the effects of what they've kind of done to you. But if you do the wrong thing, or you overdo it, or ask for too much, it has a way of reversing itself and hurting you. Mm-hmm. So you got to be careful when you go out. It's all about attention. You want to go out there saying, I'm going out to help people. But, another thing you got to say is nothing but love and light.
Yep.
Positive energy, protection. Nothing can attach itself to me or my equipment or anything. Nothing can come home with me. You're banned, it's forbidden. And you have to say that as well.
Yep.
But, yeah.
Intent is so huge. I've seen myself when we go on investigations, and some of the other team members have done this too. If I'm not in the right frame of mind, I'll just say, I'm sorry, I can't go tonight. I'm just not, I'm either hateful or just, I'm not there mentally. I don't have the right frame of mind to go. And I find if with that approach, whenever we do investigations, nothing really, I've been fortunate, knock on wood, to not really have encountered anything too nasty. And I think it's also because of the intent. So if I would have gone with the wrong mind frame, who knows what I would have encountered, because they're just so drawn to that.
Right. I mean, you got to understand, if you're having a bad day, or you have a headache, or you're not feeling well, and you think you're going to go out and paranormal investigate, you're setting yourself up for a really, really bad situation.
Yep.
There are plenty of investigators that have gotten attachments to them because they went in when they shouldn't, when they were too tired, or they weren't on point, and they weren't, concentrating on what they have to do. You had a fight with your spouse or your kids, and you're going to go on investigation. You're going to bring that. They love that negative energy.
It's food for them.
Yes, it's total food for them. So again, know your limits and know what you're able to do.
Yep.
I don't know where people are as far as on their psychic path when they discover their abilities and they start using them. Mm-hmm. But you've got to know what limits are. And if you haven't done something and someone's asked you to do it and you don't know what you're doing, there's never a bad question in the world of the paranormal.
No.
No matter how many times you ask the same question, if you're not comprehending it and you're not getting it, then you need to not do what you're supposed to do. So you have to get that down straight. Otherwise, you're going to put yourself in a situation that's going to cause a lot of damage and harm to you as an individual and a person.
And as an investigator, as much as I want to help people, if I don't have the right mentality or the emotions to go and help these people, then I can't help them or other people. So I have to say I can't attend this time. Either the team reschedules or one of us doesn't show up, whoever's having the issues. But yeah, at first I used to think, no, I have to go. These people need help. But then I started thinking, like I said, not helping myself isn't helping other people either. So you have to take care of yourself as well.
Yeah, I mean, we were supposed to do an investigation once, and I got to the place, during the day, and I was, and it's great when you have, good people and good friends with you, like I have. I mean, like there's like a brotherhood that Al Santoriga and I have, and we always look out for each other. And I was in a really, really bad place, and we're supposed to go to this investigation in this place, and I said, I'm not going. And he knew, and people were like, well, come on, you can go. And Al's like, no, he's not going. And he knew, what was going on, and he's like, nope, he's not going. Because I would have gotten attachment or worse, and I would have brought it with me, and, it just would have been a nightmare. You don't want to go through that.
No.
And yes, you can go through that.
And it would have just spread to others too,
sorry,
so it's okay.
There's a drink there. No, but that's basically, as far as protecting yourself and how a medium would protect themselves, that's how I would do it. Now, again, I'm sure if you had, another medium on, they'd add something to it, or they'd take away something from it, or, everybody has their own opinion, but I find that when it works for you, then it works.
Yep.
What
works for one doesn't work for another necessarily.
Right. I mean, I don't necessarily have any type of religious symbolism, on my person, when we do things. I know Al, he has special stuff that, got blessed by the Pope and a few other artifacts that he carries with him and he wears on investigations.
Nice.
And it seems to work. I do have one last thing that will help you for protecting.
Sure.
And I think it's something not only as a medium, but I do believe that everybody that's listening should have this on them all the time, because it protects you from everyday things as well, evil. And it's very simple. You need to wear on your left wrist a piece of iron, and it could be an iron bracelet. It could be and Etsy has a ton of craftsmen and craftswoman, whatever you want to go into, but they sell these iron bracelets. And I was actually talking to Miss Aida about this at one point, and she came up with this, and I had an idea about it, but it proved very effective. There's something that throughout the millennium, through religious ceremonies, including exorcisms, they wear iron on their left wrist, and I'll tell you why. So when you shake hands with people, normally, no matter if you're lefty or righty, you're always using your right hand. Okay, so the right hand, it allows, it doesn't take anything. It's a healing hand. It's used for healings. It's used for protection. You put your right hand up. It's been like that since the beginning of time. The left hand, mind you, is a receiver. And if you use your left hand to touch things that are negative or whatever, it gets right into you. It's like a battery, okay? Positive, negative. The left hand is the receiver. So when you put the iron on, and when these priests and these exorcists were doing these exorcisms, they'd always wear the iron on the left hand to prevent evil from coming into them. It's been done for so long. And recently, we went to Gettysburg, and I took the family there, and we went to the battlefields. And even when you're walking in fields, or you think you're going to take a stroll to the forest, you should still say some prayers of protection before you go out there, because there's things in the forest you're not going to want to know. It may look like a pretty place, but there's stuff that's everywhere, and they do hang out in the forest. But we went to the battlefields of Gettysburg, and then we stayed at a friend's house. They have a bed and breakfast called the Historic Hoover House, which is out of this world fantastic. There's a lot of haunted spots in it, if not the whole entire building, and they're wonderful people. But because I'm with my family, I can't, and I have certain senses and abilities. I don't want to draw things to me, and have that negativity or even something that's just curious. I don't need that in my life at this point, especially with my kids around. So I made sure I had the iron bracelet around, and it seemed to work like a charm. No pun intended. But it did. And you're still able to do things, but you're protecting yourself from getting anything negative back at you. So that was my last idea of what you should do, start to protect yourself.
I think you pretty much covered it.
Yeah, I mean, look, currently I've been kicked off of Facebook for 30 days.
Again?
But yeah, I'm a rebel with a cause. But I'm accessible through Facebook if you want to look me up. If you have any other questions, just private message me. Leave them. You can leave them in any one of the groups that I have on there, Inside the Goblin Universe, York State UFO Project, whatever, Bronx Paranormal Society, and I'll answer them. And if I can't answer them, I will do my best to point you in the right direction and connect you to another person that can help you out better than me.
And as usual, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's so many egos in this field.
Yes, there are.
And it's about me. It's about me. I'm doing a gallery reading. That's great, okay? But you're missing the big picture. It's not about you. It's about, helping others. And I think if more people figured that out, we'd have a better world here. Instead of being selfish about it. But if I can't help you, I will admit it immediately, and I'll say it's above my pay grade, or I'm not able to do this. I'm going to try to connect you to this person. And I will try to connect it. So I just wanted to put that out there for anybody that was listening that wants to ask any questions.
And in the show notes, folks, as usual, I will be adding the links so you can find Bryan and ask him questions if you have any, or if you need help. You can just reach out to him, or you can reach out to myself as well, and I can relay the message to Bryan.
Yes, and I'm sure, Kat, you're versed in this. You can help, and people as well that if you can't help, you'll defer them to someone else.
Yeah, I had a guest
that's
once.
What we do.
I had a guest once. I'm not going to mention who it was. This individual wanted to go to this location, and I told them, no, you need help. You have what I thought was generational curse. It's just something I felt just from what the individual was talking about, all the things happening through their lives and everything. And I said, look, I know an archbishop. Is it okay that I mention to this archbishop and get him to reach out to you? And they said, yes, of course. So that's what I did. And I said, if this person is in Canada, if they can't help you, they do know people in the States and around the world, So at some point, someone's going to be able to help you. But the Archbishop was able to help this individual. So, there's just ask. People just ask. There's always, we know people.
Yeah, you're talking about things out there that love to create misery.
Yeah.
Like we said in the opening prayers and whatever, misery, of the, humans, and that misery can travel to generation to generation to generation. They just live for it.
Yep.
And all you need is that one moment, and then you release that misery and you start vibrating at a higher frequency, or and it's beneath you at that point, and you move on to a better life and world. So always get the help.
Yeah. Never be afraid to ask.
Yeah, Al knows, and anything demonic, well above my pay grade. I'm not built for
Same
that.
here.
So,
yeah.
Yeah. So we have demonologists that do that, some of that work, and we also recommend the Warriors of St. Michael's, and they're online. They offer not only help through a religious aspect of it, but they also offer prayers that you can say on a daily basis, or prayers of protection. So you should definitely look into that.
Exactly. Never feel ashamed or afraid to ask for help. We're not going to think you're crazy. We will direct you to who we think will be able to help you the best. And if that person can't, then they're going to know other people as well. So
yeah,
reach out.
Yeah, I love this field, because when you meet, like, when you meet one person, you're almost meeting a network of people,
right? Yeah,
the good ones at least.
Yeah.
I mean, again, you have a lot of egos and stuff, and like I said,
like that in
to everybody
anything.
else, there is plenty of room in the paranormal sandbox. So come on in and let's make some castles.
Yeah, I like that. Well, thank you so very much, Brian. I'm sure Lana and the rest of the listeners will find a lot of valuable information in this. You covered everything.
Well, I tried to. I just, I know other things, but I like to go with what I've used and what has worked.
Yep.
We test everything out. So I'm going to give you information that I know is going to work.
Yep.
And it will work for everybody. There's a lot of universality to it. But I do the best. I'm not a know-it-all. No one is. And if you ever meet a know-it-all, just run.
Yeah. Call them out. And if you don't, Brian and I will.
Yeah. Well, I'm not really calling people out, but it's
no.
I just kind of walk away like, okay, gotta go. Bye.
Yep.
I had a talking about cleansing a place, and I would mention salt and sage first, then salt. And this one person, because they were on television as a psychic for some, like the Psychic Housewives or whatever, they started spewing such bad information, and they were just absolutely terrible. And out of respect for the people that I know that were putting on this broadcast, I just backed away. But wow, I was just surprised it's all about her, or him. And no, I don't play that. Like Al and I always say, we're not here to sell you anything. I have a book on Amazon. I'm not here to sell you. You want to buy it, buy it. If you don't, you don't. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to give you the best information we have.
Exactly. Well, thanks again, Uncle Brian.
You're welcome. These cats. That's a long explanation. People like, is that your uncle? Like, kind of, sort of.
Kind of, sort of, yeah.
Weird. Yeah, it's one of those weird moments in life. Yeah.
Thanks again, and you take care of yourself and your family, and we'll be chatting soon.
Sure.
Well, we've made it to the end of another episode. Thanks so much for listening. Until next time, take care of each other. And if you'd like to be on the show or have questions and comments, just drop me an email, paranormalheart13@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you.
Paranormal Heart would like to extend a special thank you to PurplePlanet.com for supplying the music for the show. The views and opinions expressed on Paranormal Heart are those of the host and participants.